Hello and welcome to my studio. I'm Jessie and this is the Knit Up and Dye podcast, episode 109, On Our Own, Not Alone. As always, I'm going to start with my thank yous. I have my cheat sheet handy here. Special thank you goes out to all of my subscribers, new and ongoing. What you see here is all about you. Feel free to tell me what you'd like to see more of, less of. Your feedback is important to me. Hello and welcome goes out to Patricia. Thank you for adding me to your day. Special love and thanks go out to Heather, Amy, Emily, Toonie, Tara, Diane, Allison, Barbara, Adriana, Wayne, Sonia, Patricia, Lisa Lette, Cappy, Kath, Jorge, Benty, Christy, Neetsy, Charlotte, Roseanne, Linda, Marie, Eve, David, Donna, Betty Ann, Scott, John, Kate, Janet, Terry, Monica, Carolyn, Nancy, and Rachel. I love you guys. Much love goes out to my Zoom family, Robert, Juanita, Paula, Brian, Jen, Elizabeth, Katie, Shirley, Roz, and Jamie. A warm hello goes out to all of my patrons. You empower me. Life. Okay, so I always kick off here. My car is fixed. Thank you to everyone who expressed concern. We got the part in. John was able to do the work, and I am back on the road very gratefully. It really was just the fuel pump, and so one less stress in my day. I have a lot of friends and acquaintances right now that are really struggling with a variety of different illnesses. I have people in my circle who have you are in my circle, you know what you have. Some people are struggling with deaths in their families, some people are struggling with cancers, some people are struggling with autoimmune disorders, some people have been dealing with this for years and are just reaching new hurdles. Some people have new diagnoses, and I really just want to talk to all of us, every one of us, a little bit about that some people feel shamed into going it alone, and that's not right. Some people simply are embarrassed. Some people feel that it's a private issue, and certainly if it's private for you, keep it private for you. That is your prerogative. Some people are afraid that they're a bother, or that nobody wants to know, nobody wants to hear, that nobody will care, or that people will marginalize them or treat them differently because of their illness. And if somebody treats you differently because of a diagnosis that you have, and that differently is not more respectful and more caring, you don't need them in your life. You don't. I really just want to say to everyone that's dealing with this sort of thing, I love you. I do. And I want you to feel comfortable being vulnerable, sharing your experiences, saying that you have a bad day, letting people know what your diagnosis is so that if they are struggling to figure out what they are experiencing and they're struggling to find a coping mechanism, maybe what's happened to you is what's happening to them, and they have hope because somebody else is going through it too. When you have chronic illness, or even sudden illness, you go through a period where you are coping. You're coping prior to even having a label for what's going on. And really, once you get that label, once they say it is an allergy to pickles, whatever, even once you finally get that label, all that label enables is a cookbook recipe for coping that you were already doing. It might provide you access to new coping mechanisms, to new treatments, to insurance-allowed medications that suddenly you can take to further cope and hopefully heal. But outside of that, you're already taking care of yourself. And if you don't have that label, if you don't have that diagnosis, if you haven't found it already, that does not in any way make it less real. And once you have that label, you are then empowered, not only by the new cookbook recipe of coping mechanisms and access to new medication, but you are enabled to help everybody else, to help them find their way, to understand, to be compassionate, to have access to things that people who don't have that illness or that label or whatever, in order to understand people around you who also have these things. I have never had cancer. I do not know what people who suffer from cancer go through. I can imagine, I can pretend to understand, I can be sympathetic, but I don't know. I can never relate from a position of experience. I can't. Same goes for people who have been diagnosed with epilepsy. I have people in my circle that also have epilepsy, so from a I stand next to you perspective, I know what they've gone through, but I don't experience it myself. Migraines? Oh boy, do I know about migraines, and boy can I relate to you and look you in the face and say, yeah, isn't that annoying when you have horrible vertigo and everything in the room is tilting and people look at you like you're crazy? That right there, that is that relatability, that intimate understanding should not be tucked away, should not be hidden, should be shared so that we are not alone. We may be on our own in our journeys, but we do not need to be alone in our journeys, regardless of what our affliction, our injury, our disease, our diagnosis, our treatment, our life experience is. We don't have to be alone. We do, though, need to be respectful, so that when somebody says that they're going through the death of a parent, if it's not something that you've experienced, be honest and say, I am sorry that you are going through this. I cannot imagine what that is like. I have never been in your shoes. That is more honorable. That is more respectful. That is more loving than ever trying to relate to something that you can't relate to. I try very hard to be very honest, whether it is having slammed your hand in the door or getting a death sentence from a doctor, to relate to people from my shoes and not try to pretend to wear somebody else's shoes or assume that I know what somebody's experience is. For example, my migraines come with aura occasionally, dizziness, nausea, pain. I have auditory hallucinations, which are really cool when you think the doorbell has rung and you get up to answer the door and there's nobody there. I have a lot of different things, but there's a lot of other symptoms that I don't have. And when I meet somebody who has these other symptoms, I listen with compassion. I try to imagine what that's like. I'm grateful that I don't experience it. But I never tell them how to deal with it. I share my experience. I share how I deal with it. But I don't think that I am the end-all answer to it or that I can make it be different for them. And I think that humility is important, and the willingness to learn, and just plain raw compassion. I don't know what that's like. explain it to me. Share with me. Let me know. Thank you to everyone who reaches out to me and says, try this. I have that. That's awful. Give this a go. Thank you to everyone who steps forward and says, I'm suffering from this rare autoimmune disorder. This is what this is like. I'm afraid, but I'm not alone. Thank you to every suggestion, every correction, every open heart, open mind, open arms. You guys make it different. You make it better. You make it tolerable. You make that coping mechanism work. Have I waffled on enough about that? I can think of 4 people that just went, get to the point, I would like to see the yarn. Mostly this is about reminding you that you do not have to be alone, and that you have people around you that may not understand your experience, but that are good people and are going to try, and you don't need to hide. And you don't know who among them is hiding as well and struggling to find an answer. Share. Moving on, let's make a radical jump here. Let's talk about Christmas. How's that for a swing? I am preparing to do, once again this year, my ornament exchange. I am trying to gauge European interest. Y'all are on vacations. You're all enjoying different weather, and it's the furthest thing from your mind. However, we do need to get a rough idea of whether or not this is of interest to people. Feel free to email me and let me know, yes, I am interested in doing the ornament exchange. We previously had done it in the US only. We have some people that are interested in doing it in Europe, and I have a partner who's willing to work with me to do distribution to Europe and most of the world, actually outside of the US. US shipping costs are ridiculous, and it is inhibitive to ask somebody in Australia to give me $20 so that I can ship back to them, rather than having somebody in Europe who can ship to them for $8. So we really need to gauge this to determine whether this is feasible. So if you have a moment, please message me down below or send me an email and let me know that yes, you are remotely interested. This is not a commitment. If you say that you are interested now, you are not locked in to making ornaments for the exchange. We simply have a rough idea of what the interest level is, and I appreciate you taking that time. Thank you very much. Moving on, other big changes. Okay. So I have moved for the majority of my products as a scaled shift to my own retail e-commerce website. It is dyemonkeyyarns.com. It is basically the same website but with new features as you had before, rather than my Etsy shop. I am quite sure by now, if you have anybody that you know who works with Etsy, or if you yourself works with Etsy, that we have had a directive from the CEO there to really include shipping in our costs and offer free shipping for all of our products over the price of $35, or any sales over $35, or risk, no, not even risk, or not be listed in their searches. So if you go to Etsy anytime after, I believe July 30th was their directive, and you search for red yarn, anyone who is not offering free shipping, who has not adjusted their pricing to include shipping costs, which is what Etsy is telling us to do. They have even developed a tool to reprice all of our items for us to include the shipping cost in it and tell you that it is free shipping. Anyone who has not done this will not appear in the search results. I'm sorry, I disagree with that wholeheartedly. No, I'm not sorry. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. My shipping to you is not my cost of doing business. It is not. It is not my cost of doing business any more than the vendors at a wool festival should be paying the entry fee for every person that walks in. If you go to a wool festival, you should not expect that your access fee be paid by the vendors. You pay to get in. That fee covers all kinds of things. Just for example, it is covering grounds care, it is covering porta potties, it is covering the trash cans and the cleanup, it is covering the first aid station, it is covering a whole plethora of things. And I recognize that that is not an apples to apples comparison to shipping. However, if you go into a retail store and you purchase yarn, you do not expect the shop owner to reimburse you the gas that you used in your car to get to the store. That is not their cost of doing business. When I purchase online, it is a luxury, and to have that item shipped to my door is a luxury and a convenience, and I have no problem in the world paying for that. If you are a yarn seller, if you are an indie dyer and you charge shipping, feel free to introduce yourself to me. I would like to do business with you. I disagree with upping your product prices to basically buffer in shipping expenses and then tell me my shipping is free. I feel lied to, and I refuse to lie to my customers, my client base, my circle of friends, anybody, about the costs that are loaded into the cost of my yarn. What does the price of my yarn include? Let me tell you exactly what the price of my yarn includes. It includes the base that I dye to. It includes the dye. It includes the water from my water bill, the electricity from my electric bill. It includes the vinegar that I use as an acid or the citric acid that I use to set the dye. It includes the soap and the conditioner I use to wash that. It includes the plastic bag that I wrap it in, the ribbon that I tie my label to, the label that I put on it, the sticky label that I put on it that is the content and care. It includes the bag that ultimately is the shipping container I put it in. It includes the label that I actually attach to that bag. And even as I say that, I realize, no, that's not even true. The shipping bag and the shipping label are part of the shipping. All the labels, all the materials, that is what the cost of my yarn is. I'm sorry, if you disagree with me, please feel free to send me a message and let me know why you disagree. Don't attack, explain. I would love to see all perspectives on this. I understand that free shipping is attractive. I get it. I have spent the $3.26 more to make my shopping cart free. I get it. It's enticing. It's exciting. But as a small business owner, I can't do that. I can't eat that cost, nor do I feel comfortable writing that in and saying, oh, it's free. I just can't. Many of the big box and online retailers can offer that, and they do write that off as a business expense. I'm not at liberty to do that. I just am not, and I don't feel good about lying to you about it. So that's the long and ugly version of I have a new website and I'm really excited about it. All my products have been moved over. I actually think under this new site that the shipping calculation is more accurate, and the shipping numbers that I'm seeing are lower than what I was being charged through Etsy because I'm not paying an Etsy fee for the shipping label. That translates into slightly lower bills. I love the platform. It's easy to use. It's clean. There's a lot less clicking to get stuff in my cart and to check out. I'm really proud of it, and I look forward to getting more and more product in there. I'm in talks with a couple of other artists to include new and different items in there that are outside of my creative talents, but project bags may be coming, and Notions zipper totes may be coming, and stitch markers and progress keepers may be coming. I'm working with different artists to see if they want to be part of the Die Monkey website and sell through me, and I'm excited about that prospect. That is not something that would have happened before. I have more capacities with this site, and I hope that you like the layout, the colors, the flow of it. I hope that it's easy for you to use. And please, I want your feedback. I want to hear from you about your experience. Does this work for you? Is this right? I may end up eating crow. I may end up going back to Etsy and using their platform again, or finding another platform and using them. But I'm not going to lie to you about what you're paying for. Can't do it. Can't do it. Moving on. Was that impassioned enough for you? Do you see the real me? Do you feel like you're getting the truth of me? I hope so. I hope that you never sit down to my podcast and think that this is an act, or that I am ingenuine, or that I am telling tales or misrepresenting. I hope that you see the real me, what I care about, what I don't care about, and what I want to convey to you. I hope that you honestly receive the message that I'm trying to put out there. What have I done this week? Not a lot. I've been busy with other things. Hand spinning. I want to thank K.L. Johnson. I'm sorry I don't have your first name here. And Terry. And there were a couple other people. I'm sorry I have misplaced names. I bounce between my cell phone during the day, my computer at night, and I have messages that I get from you guys on YouTube, on Ravelry, on Instagram, on Pinterest, and my emails, thank you. And I try to keep this all together, but it's coming into me on multiple devices from multiple angles, and sometimes I miss names. I love you regardless. And the moment that I read that, I appreciated everything about who you were, the time you took to reach out to me, the message that you sent me. And if I haven't replied yet, I will deign to do so. It's important to me. I like our personal connection. I like our time together. I wouldn't keep doing this if I didn't enjoy it. But especially K.L. Johnson and Terry, thank you for correcting me. Thank you for reaching out and helping me. This product, this is a braid that I very much hope to hand spin. That is Nube. N-U-B-E is pronounced Nube, and my viewers educated me. Thank you guys. This is a roving, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. I intend to hand spin it. I'm still learning a lot about hand spinning. I could fill volumes with what I don't know, but I love these colors, and I'm excited by this. And I hope to actually kick off on this a little bit, maybe this afternoon. I'm nervous about my hand spinning. I am very, very focused in my dye business and my designing, and when I knit samples, that the product be extremely consistent. And hand spinning is not a consistent production by any stretch, especially when you're new. My spinning looks a whole lot more like art yarn than it does, the product that I sell. And that can be uncomfortable for me. That puts me off my center and makes me very self-judgmental and nervous and uncomfortable, and those are good things. They're hard to embrace. Oh God, is it hard to embrace being uncomfortable. But I'm learning when I'm uncomfortable. I have been advised that New Bay, my memory is bad. I think it means like clouds, like squishy, soft clouds. I think that is a beautiful concept, and I'm really excited to work with this. So those of you who are cheering on my hand spinning, it's coming, I'm getting there. It's about all the other things I'm juggling. What have I been knitting? I finished a thing. I love that. It's done. The knitting is done. I need to block it. But I have completed my Stormy Sky Shawl by Life is Cozy. It's done. Yay, it's off the needle. It's completely bound off. This is the progress I had left on it before it was considered done. It used an entire skein. There's my little progress keeper right there. That's the end of it. So it was virtually a repeat was left. And I probably could have gotten in one more row. I don't like playing yarn chicken. I really don't. It makes me panicky and stressed and sweaty, and I knit really fast. I'm very careful never to get below a quarter of a tank of gas, because if I think for a minute that I'm going to run out of gas, I drive faster, and that's really dangerous. I do the exact same thing with my knitting. And when I think I'm getting low on my yarn, I knit faster, and my shoulders go into my ears, and I get really panicky, and I knit really fast. And my husband sees it, and he laughs at me. He goes, "You about to run out of yarn?" That's all he says. He just looks at me and he gives me this little nod. "You about to run out of yarn? Shut up!" Ah. And I knit really crazy and fast. I know I'm doing it. I try not to do it. I look at the yarn, and you would think after this many projects I'd be a good judge of how much yarn is actually consumed. I could get up and weigh it. I could work a row, weigh the leftover, work a row, weigh the leftover again, and compare the difference and know how much I could do left. That's like intelligent and forethinking. That's not fun. Yeah, we like the surprise and the panic, don't we? So right to the rails. This is all I have left. I suspect it's maybe 3-4 grams. I could weigh it. That would be intelligent and forethinking. The reality is I know it's enough for a square in my blanket. And although I could have done one more row on this and made it 1/8 of an inch longer, I'd rather have that square in my blanket to remember this project, to remember who I made it for and why I made it. And it's really pretty, and that's why I didn't push for one more row. That and the idea of knitting crazy to play yarn chicken just is not appealing to me. So anyway, the Stormy Sky Shawl is complete. I will block it. It's a ways off before I'm gifting it away. So once it's blocked, I will show it off to you guys again. The size is very nice. Let me see if I can span it out. Yeah, it's my height in overall length pre-blocked. So I'm very happy with it. It's very wearable. I think it's going to be a beautiful gift for my friend in her first pregnancy. And the yarn is beautiful. It's very much in colors that she enjoys, and she will be beautiful in it. The pattern is easy. It's readily understandable. It is a free pattern. The only place that I struggled was in this drop stitch pattern here, because it's achieved with double yarn overs, and then the next row you go back and you are purling and dropping the yarn overs. It's a little uncomfortable. It's loosey-goosey. There's stuff all over the place, and you have to focus to make sure you don't drop the stitch, because if you drop the stitch, rather than just dropping the yarn overs, that can get messy. I got lucky. It never happened to me even once. It's a beautiful feature, and it does this lovely negative space that's really fun and really shows off the colors of the yarn. But it was a little bit of a challenge for me. I'm very regimented, and I'm very consistent, and I don't like loosey-goosey. I just don't. That's me. That's my personality. That's my skill set. That's who I am. You may love it. You may alter the pattern and include more of it. Overall, it's beautiful. I think it's absolutely gorgeous in this pattern. It was well written. It was easy to follow, and overall, I think it is absolutely gorgeous. So I highly recommend I'm checking my cheat sheet because I've got two patterns that are really closely named. The Stormy Sky Shawl by Life is Cozy. And I will block that, and I'll show it to you again in all of its blocked glory, because really this looks like purple ramen noodle, and when it's blocked and it's paper thin and it is light and drapey and all the stitches are set, it is so much more beautiful. It's magic. Blocking is everything, and if you're somebody who has not tried blocking, if you are somebody who has knit things and said ramen noodles is good enough for me and it stretches out and I wear it and it's beautiful, which ramen noodles can be absolutely beautiful. I am not arguing that point at all. You do what works for you, but give it a try and see what magic comes out of that. A number of my podcasts in the past have included blocking tutorials. I do have them up on my YouTube channel. Check them out if you don't feel comfortable with how to block things, and ask me questions. That's why I'm here. I want to be a resource for you. Feel free to ask me, how do I block this? This is an obscure or weird shape and I'm not comfortable with it. Do you have any suggestions? I will do my best to provide you with good instruction and suggestions on how to attack that project. What else have I been knitting? Okay, so last week when I did all my summary, I think I told you that I hadn't made any progress on this. I haven't touched it this week. However, it occurred to me that yes, I had made progress on this and I simply hadn't shown it to you. This is my Brickwork sweater. The Brickwork sweater is by Elizabeth Doherty. It is a pay-to-play pattern on Ravelry. It's knit down, top down, in the round, but you start with one section, then you pick up and you go with the other section. And I'm currently working the back neck. The neck is here, and yoke. And the last time I showed this to you, I'm flipping it all around, I'm sure this is horribly confusing, I had my stitch marker, my progress keeper, got put in right there. You can barely see it over my finger because it's black, but I actually put on better part of an inch of work on this. And I'm very happy about that. I need to get to work on this. I need to focus. My dream is to wear this in October. And if I don't get stitching, because here we are halfway, better than halfway, oh my goodness, through July. So somebody needs to sit down and put some time on this. It's a beautiful pattern. I showed it to you 2 weeks ago really in detail. Feel free to check out my previous episodes if you're just dropping in now. I love the yarn. The yarn is by Shannon Shaw over at Supernatural Yarns. I always want to call it Supernatural Wool. Shannon, I'm sorry. She has a new club up. She does some of the coolest yarn clubs. I wish I had the time to develop colorways and issue them as clubs like she does. That may be something that's coming up in the future if I can get my act together. But do check out Supernatural Yarn. She's got a new club up, and the way she runs her clubs is so brilliant because she has 6 colorways. You can choose to do a couple months, all 6 months, whatever you want. You select your colorways and you select your bases. If you want this on roving, if you want this on sock, if you want this on worsted, DK, she has all of her bases listed. You sign up and you get what you want in the colorways that she is offering. Shannon, you're a slice of brilliant, and I love how you run your stuff. Check her out. Check out the new forgive me, club, and I'm pretty sure signups are still open. I need to go over there and take a look. I need more of her yarn. Shannon, you're made of evil. You're an evil, evil enabler. Thank you, and I love you for it. So, this is one of her colorways. It's called Acromantula Colony. I adore it. I need to get to work on that sweater. I clearly have been sidetracked and not doing what I'm supposed to do. What have I been crocheting? Haha, this is where I get confused about the pattern names. The purple shawl that I am gifting to my friend is the Stormy Sky shawl. The crochet project that I'm working on is called the Through the Clouds shawl. I'm off in the clouds, I'm off in the stratosphere, what do I know? I have been working on this very, very little. I have put in quite literally 2 rows since I saw you guys last and told you about it last. There's my little stitch progress keeper, stitch marker progress keeper right there. I put on 2 whole rows. Whoop-de-doo. Just focused on other things. But I love it. It is not camping for lack of interest. It is camping for lack of time. Very easy to use program. It is a pay to play. Available through Ravelry. It's called Through the Clouds Shawl. And this one is, I have to pull it because I always get the name wrong, Rachy Newin. Easy. I am not an experienced crocheter. If you've been with me for any amount of time, you will know that generally crochet turns me into a pirate and I say an awful lot of horrible words. It's a challenge for me. I don't particularly like it. I'm loving this. I cannot endorse this enough. The stitch is consistent all the way through. It's very easy to memorize. The only thing that changes is what 2 colors you're using and how many times you do a row of each. And it's so loosey-goosey. It is so malleable. It is so customizable. I added another whole skein, another whole color into it. I'm not particularly following her color patterns. I'm doing what I want and it's beautiful. I love it. I am so, so happy with this. If you have questions about it, please reach out to me. I am not a crochet expert by any stretch, but I will do the best I can to explain my experience and what I've learned from it for you. One of the most challenging things for me is that when you are making a stitch under a chain, you have to be careful with this project to align between stitches, and the front and the back are not perfectly aligned. They are ever so slightly jogged, and it's easy to catch the leg of one stitch when you go through underneath the chain from the row below. I'm not giving any pattern away here. It's simply a stitch challenge for me. I don't do enough crochet to know if that is normal. I don't do enough crochet to know if that's my particular stitching that is causing that. But when I make a stitch, I'm putting through on the working side and having to look at the back side, every stitch, to make sure that I'm aligning properly and doing it right in order to get the proper look of these stitches. It's very important that they align so that you get the look of that fabric. I love it. It's beautiful. I like the weight of it. It's not incredibly drapey. It's thick and it's warm, which is what I wanted. It's a really nice fabric that, I know I'm insane. I think this fabric would make the coolest little mini skirt to wear over leggings and really incorporate beautiful colors to enhance an outfit. I'm psychotic. The idea of making another thing with more fabric than this to cover my bum so that I have pretty things wrapped around me really is outside of my healthy reality. But it would be a beautiful project. It would be a beautiful idea, and I may yet come to that. Just I love the fabric. I love the fabric. Am I skilled enough to put in shaping of a skirt with this? Am I crazy enough to try? We'll see. We will see. Another challenge that I'm actually facing with this project is I have 4 skeins of yarn and this project, and I have it in my project bag. I love this project bag. Isn't that cute? I'm all about the Onslers and the Lorax. I love the Lorax. He speaks for the trees. He's wonderful. Anything Dr. Seuss. I really, my heart lives there. But my bag is a little bit too full. I should stop and I should be logical and I should move to a larger bag. But I love my bag so much that I keep zipping my yarn into my zipper. I even have the pattern like pulled up on top of everything to kind of cover up so that my yarn doesn't get stuck. But then you have those moments where you get called into the doctor's office and you shove it in your bag and you zip it real quick. It all goes wrong. I have zipped my yarn into this project bag 4 times now. I've been very lucky. If I slowly retract the zipper, it often comes back and doesn't damage the yarn, but it scares me to death every time I do it. Enough that I pay attention. I try to hold everything down before I zip, and still it happens. It's a lesson I will learn eventually, as I say, as I shove everything back into this bag that's really too small for the project. I have it in my head that it all fits in the bag. I mean, the bag is busting at the seams. Fit is, we all have different definitions of it fits, don't we? It's busting at the seams, but I have this idea that it all fit in here. I had 4 skeins of yarn, I had my little project. And as I work it, the project gets bigger and the skeins get smaller. So the same volume of material is in there and it should all still fit, right? It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And I actually wasted a lot of time and consideration thinking about why that is so. You would think these things should be logical. I should understand them without spending time on them. So when you cake up yarn, you're putting it in this compressed little wedge. And then when you knit yarn, you're creating a loose and draping garment. You're actually knitting or crocheting air into it, negative space. And yet somehow we don't think that that air and negative space takes up space. If this was one of those compression bags, it would all still work. It's not, and I'm silly in the head, and I really need to think differently. Project bags should have space. This is my sweater project bag, and in it I have 2 cakes of yarn and this much of the project. When I am all said and done with this project, I will be lucky if the whole sweater fits in here. And I do not have the other 4 cakes of yarn already loaded in here. They would currently fit, but because there's negative space and air going into that sweater, it won't all fit in the end. The lessons we learn. Use a big project bag from the start or be willing to change project bags. What have I been dyeing? Nothing. Did I dye last weekend? I think I might. I did. I dyed last weekend. Clearly I've come back to life. I worked on a retail order for the shop up in Wisconsin. That has all gone out to them. I'm very excited about that. They are going to have a fresh stock of minis. A new exclusive colorway is headed up there. So that went really well. I am starting to dye on some of my more rare bases to put in my shop. That includes a merino cashmere silk blend that I had kicking around that I don't know why I was saving this base. I think I had it in my head that I needed to find the perfect color to dye to it. I dyed a beautiful color to it. It's gorgeous. The sheen is lovely. I'm looking at it beyond the camera here on the drying rack. Very happy with it. That will be hitting the shop very soon. I have a BFL that I'm adding to the shop again very soon. There's going to be more bases, and there's going to be a few more of the luxury bases available. A lot of my issue was also listing them at price point plus fees, and I wasn't comfortable with that. And now that I've eliminated fees, the price point will make much more sense and be more attractive and more available and more attainable, more accessible. I want my yarns to be accessible. So new bases are coming, and I'm very excited about that. I also need to re-dye a project. I had a custom order come in. Thank you, Emily. Really beautiful. I had the opportunity to work with my customer to develop a colorway that would work on a project. I love doing that. I love interacting with you. I love giving you photos and talking color theory. I love creating something that fulfills your dream. Thank you for the opportunity. There's never an upcharge for custom orders. If you're thinking that you want to navigate a custom order, let's talk. You're not obligated because we're talking about, can you do this color, or do you have this base? The base price is the base price is the base price. And if I spend 18 hours emailing you to sort out a colorway and a base, I spend 18 hours of friend time working on this, not paid time. I'm not an attorney. So really, if you have a dream idea, reach out to me. Let's see what we can create. So I dyed this up, very excited, so happy to fulfill this dream for her. I put it on the wrong base. Total fail. I had taken it off my dry rack this morning, and I was twisting it up to label it for her, to get it out to her. And I looked at the yarns that we had been pairing it against for her project, and I realized those are DK. This is worsted. Crap. I put it on the wrong base. So I will be doing a re-dye ASAP. I hope to be able to do that today. There's a couple other things that I have to work around, but I will get that out to you immediately. Emily, thank you for your patience. Thank you for your understanding. I am so sorry. I'm human. I make mistakes. I wish I didn't ever make a mistake, but believe it, I'm going to re-dye that for you exactly as you wanted it, and it is coming out to you ASAP. What have I been designing? Please, if you're not already a patron and not using my Patreon page, go check it out. It is financial support for me, for my podcast, for my design business. A lot of hours go into designing patterns and projects for you. A lot of hours go into designing new colorways and looking at how colors interact. And your patronage supports all that and enables me to do what I do. As a special exclusive, that's where you can see what I'm designing. I have some designs that are public designs. I've talked to you about this design. As you can see by its lack of movement, I haven't touched it. I need to finish writing that and get that out to the tech editor. I need to name it and get that prepared for test knitters as well. If you're interested in test knitting, send me an email. If you haven't heard from me in a while and want to nudge me because you want to test knit this, feel free to email me again. But I have other projects that are part of the exclusive content on my Patreon page, and if you would like to see what I'm currently working on, please pop over there and consider $1 a month. Gives you access to it. You are not obligated to any kind of long-term subscription. $1 for 1 month will get you in. You can see what I'm doing. You can decide whether you're interested in continuing to follow it, or if you just want to say, I paid $1 for that and I'm going to walk away. You are perfectly welcome. You manage it, you control it, you have the access. There are benefits to the multiple levels of patronage that I offer, inclusive of yarn credits and patterns and special discounts. Pop over, take a look. I do have a new pattern that is in process over there. I am blogging about it as exclusive content and showing photos there. I also will be offering in the very near future, with the capacities of my new website, some member pages in my store where you will have access to exclusive products, and I'm super excited about having that opportunity. That was something that I wanted to be able to do all along, where I had exclusive colorways, and it just was not a capacity of my previous iteration. It is now, so we'll be looking at that as well. I'm also taking part in a mystery design along. It's a mystery, so I can't show that to you either. So I'm really kind of stuck. I need to figure out how to replicate myself and design more things faster so that I can show off stuff that I'm designing for you. I need to get this moving. I also am working toward my Squircle tutorial. General Hog Buffer, the designer of the Squircle sock pattern, did give me permission to do this over a year ago. I am for want of time. If anybody has figured out, I'm afflicted with a lack of time, and if you have figured out how to replicate time, produce more time, I would love to hear about those coping mechanisms. I am currently working on clue 2 of my mystery design along. We don't know how many clues there's going to be. We don't know how many colors we're going to include. We don't know what our end shape is going to be. It's a mystery. The whole thing is great fun because I'm working with a partner, and she takes a clue and then I take a clue, and we don't even know what the other person's doing until we have it. And it's fun. It's a challenge. It's a challenge to figure out what you're going to do next. It's a challenge to make it, to have continuity throughout it, and to make it make sense. But it is great, great fun, and I need to pick that up and put some time into that. Kate, thank you for your patience. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Acquisitions this week. I did not have any fiber-related acquisitions at all. Good for me. I didn't spend any money. I've looked at a lot of stuff. Thank you for suggesting indie yarn dyers. I have followed 2, 3, 4 more indie dyers this past week. Instagram is a fantastic tool. Really, I love being able to see not just the yarn that people are dyeing. I love seeing your children. I love seeing your dogs. I love seeing your spouses. I love seeing your homes. I love seeing your world. That insight bonds me emotionally to your product. It bonds me emotionally to working with you. I feel connected, and I feel like I am supporting your small business, that we have a connection. And share away. Introduce yourself. Step forward. Say, hey, I'm an indie dyer. I'm located in this wonderful place, and I have this life. These are my relatives. These are my people. This is my tribe. This is what I do. Take a look at my products. I'd love to hear what you think of it. I'm having a sale. I'm not having a sale. I agree with you. I don't agree with you. This is my experience. Have you ever considered? Reach out to me. I love that interaction. That gets me through my week. When I am working in my real job, and I am going through the challenges of my real job, and I take time on my lunch break to sit down and go through your messages, it refreshes me, it empowers me, it lights up my creativity, and it gives me what I need to get through the rest of my challenges in my day. Thank you. So, I did have one other acquisition though. Trying to circle back. I've got my cheat sheet here to make sure I stay mostly on track. I bought an Instant Pot. I'm sorry, I will call it an Instapot 1,000 times. I think it should have been named an Instapot. Instant Pot does not roll off my tongue easily. It is a multi-appliance singular device, if you're not familiar with this, that is primarily a pressure cooker. But it is a pressure cooker that is programmable for delayed start, for keep warm feature for 10 hours. You can do soups, you can do yogurt, you can do porridge, you can do chicken, you can do beef, you can do stews, you can do soup. You can steam in it, you can make rice, you can do everything. It's really a fascinating piece of kitchen technology. We've gone through our getting started manual, and we've steamed water and we've pressure cooked water to clean it and get used to it and understand its functions. And last night we had our first Instant Pot meal. I live a paleo lifestyle, so I am gluten-free. I also happen to be dairy-free, and currently I'm living egg-free. I discovered that I seem to have a intolerance right now with eggs, which is really frustrating because we have chickens and they produce a lot of eggs, but I have to listen to my body and I have to cope to stay healthy. But I found a recipe online, just a random search. I said, Paleo Chicken Instant Pot recipe. I typed Instapot 3 times. I think it should be called an Instapot. I will follow along with the corporate naming structure. It's an Instant Pot. I made a honey mustard chicken in it last night. I didn't have the prescribed chicken. I substituted with some chicken drumsticks I had in the freezer. Oh my goodness. It was so delicious. That recipe would have taken me, from the time I pulled the chicken out of the freezer and thawed it and browned it and marinated it and baked it and reduced the sauce and reincorporated the sauce and the chicken, that would have taken me better part, even if I'd used my microwave, that would have taken me better part of an hour and a half with baking time. In under a half an hour, we had meat falling off the bone with this delicious sauce. It was so good. I would tweak the recipe that I found a little bit to use less honey. It was just a little bit too sweet for me. But the convenience of using that might be how I'm going to start replicating some time. I'm pretty excited about that. And to be able to, I got a big one, I got a 6-quart one, which for John and I is more than enough. To be able to put together some meals in that and punch up enough that we have leftovers in a half hour, 45 minutes, and then freeze that and only have to microwave it when we get home from work, I may have found a way to replicate and make more time. My only meh about that, and it's the stupidest thing in the world, was that because I was up for half an hour working this recipe, you do a browning cycle and then you throw it in, you pressure cook it for a minute and then you pull it back out and you do this reduction thing. The total pressure cooker's cook time on it was 10 minutes. I barely had time to sit down and knit. I'm used to be able to throw stuff in the oven and sit around for a half hour, 45 minutes while I'm knitting. But dinner was over a whole lot quicker and I was able to clean up and sit down and knit for longer afterwards. So it really provided me with less interrupted knitting time, but I need to kind of realign my craft time in my head that I'm not knitting during the cooking process. I'm actually not having to start cooking as early and I have more time afterwards because I'm compressing that whole cooking time. So this might actually be a really good thing. If you are somebody who uses an Instant Pot, if you are somebody who's working with the paleo lifestyle, if you have recipes that you do with an Instant Pot that would fit into the paleo lifestyle of no dairy, no eggs, no grains, so far as I don't do corn, I don't do wheat, I don't do barley, I don't do any rices or beans. If you have recipes that fit into that, I would love to hear from you. I'm always curious about that. And if you hear me talking about a honey mustard chicken recipe and you're going, oh, that sounds really good, message me. I will direct you. I will point you to it. And if you're just plain curious about my lifestyle, feel free to write to me. I am obviously not opposed to sharing. And I'll let you know what my experience is, why I did it, health reasons, and how you can get started. It is not difficult. It really is not. It seems like a challenge to give up things like bread. There are substitutes and there are breads that are paleo friendly. Everything is possible. That is everything I have for you today. It was my pleasure to spend this time with you, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. I have said to you 1,000 times I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.